traditional owners of Port Lincoln and the surrounding lands. The traditional Barngala name for Port Lincoln is Galanya, which means place of sweet water. The Barngala language is spoken in Port Lincoln, Whyalla and Port Augusta areas of the peninsula. In 1802, there, when Matthew Flinders and the white fellas, they sailed into the harbour in their big tall ships, and they were greeted by us, the Barngala mob, who believed that Matthew Flinders and his crew were the spirits of our ancestors returning from the islands. The Barngala people showed the first settlers there to find fresh water and food, which saved them from dying. The Barngala mob, we lived here by the coastline. We had a strong connection with the sea. We used to fish a wide variety of seafood, mainly fish, and we hunted kangaroos and emus and birds and snakes and lizards.
When I was younger, I think that I took home for granted. I didn't really appreciate the beautiful place I live in and how important it is to be surrounded by a tight-knit family, friends and community. It wasn't until I moved to Adelaide, 700 kilometres away from Port Lincoln, that I realised just how much I missed my home, especially my family. Of course, I had a home in Adelaide that I made my own. I had a roommate and lots of close friends there, which made it a lot easier moving from a small rural town to the city. But there was still nothing that could beat coming home to Port Lincoln and being in my family home with my parents and sister. At the end of the university year in 2019, I made the decision to move back to Port Lincoln along with a few of my closest friends and finish off my degree studying externally. Home to me is also represented by the beautiful coastlines and beaches that we have access to in Port Lincoln. People travel from all over the world to see our beaches and visit our town. I'm lucky enough to have all of this pretty much on my doorstep. A big part of my life is spent at these beaches during the summer with my friends and family. Another big part of my life, and what I believe has had a huge influence on my beliefs and values, is my culture. My dad is Croatian, therefore my upbringing has been heavily influenced on a European style of living. His family is from Kali, a small village in Croatia, which, like Port Lincoln, is a fishing town. In 1965, just before my dad was born, his family moved to Port Lincoln in search for a better life. After moving to Australia, my dad and his brother began tuna poling, which then led to starting their own tuna fishing company and also a prawn fishing company. The businesses have been passed down through the family. So, my dad being away a lot of the time is another part of my home that I believe has taught me quite a lot of independence. Throughout my primary schooling, all of my friends' dads had normal 9-to-5 jobs and would be able to drop them to school, come in to listen to them read in the mornings and come to school events like assemblies and Father's Day. Whereas mine couldn't do that a lot of the time. It was always my mum. I remember this making me upset at times, but now that I am older and have a job of my own, I realised that he wasn't at these sorts of things because he didn't want to be. It was because he wanted to work hard to give us a good life. My bubba strongly follows the Catholic religion. Therefore, following my bubba's wishes, my dad, my sister and myself are all baptised Catholic. I had a very Catholic upbringing. We attended church every weekend. My dad, my sister and myself all went to the Catholic school in Port Lincoln, which was connected to the church, and we all participated in the religious sacraments. It is very important to my bubba that we continue to attend church services with her, especially at Easter and Christmas. 2 years ago, my dad passed away. So now, more than ever, doing little things with my bubba, like going to church, having lunch with her and baking with her are very important to me, as I see how happy she is when we spend time with her. She has most definitely made me value having culture and is a big part of what I call home. Overall, home to me is a place where I feel safe and supported. It is where I have been taught values, respect, work ethic, aspects of my culture, and how important it is to have family and friends that also hold these values. Port Lincoln, as shown throughout my movie, is a prominent agriculture and aquaculture centre. The first fishermen were the Barngarla Aboriginal people who used the sea as their main food source. They used handmade fish traps, spears, and the fishing boomerang to catch fish for their families and communities. Similarly, my culture has been and is heavily influenced by the fishing industry. My family owns a well-established fishing business which fishes and farms southern bluefin tuna and Spencer Gulf king prawns all year round. Unlike Aboriginal people, we do not live off the land in terms of it being our only food, water and housing supply, but we do live off the land in it being our main source of income, which in turn provides us with a house, food and water. I can say that although the circumstances are very different, my family and I understand what it is like to completely rely on something for survival. In times like we are experiencing now with COVID-19 and what we have overcome recently with Equinor proposing to drill in the Great Australian Bight, we also have a great understanding of how it feels to quite possibly lose everything that we have a strong connection with and that my grandparents worked so hard to build. Rose's 1992 work outlines that caring for country is the relationships between Indigenous people and their country. Use of the word care demonstrates that caring for country activities embody responsibility, ethics, emotion and connection. Burning, letting the country know we are there, and protecting and enhancing species are all acts of caring for country. Only recently, Equinor withdrew their proposal to drill in the Great Australian Bight, which is thanks to the many people who have a connection with the sea and Port Lincoln and surrounding areas who fought for our ocean. The risk of an oil spill, noise pollution, chemical pollution and increased marine animal strikes would have all been unavoidable risks on our marine and coastal ecosystems if it was to go ahead. Ultimately, we were fighting to protect and enhance living species and ecosystems of our ocean, just like the Aboriginal Australians do in continuing to care for their country. Thank you for watching my movie. I hope that you have gained insight into Port Lincoln and the Barngarla people, my home and my understanding of caring for country.
Waste my time, which makes things worse. Lost in my love is cursed.